So this one is going to be pretty short, maybe. Just an article that came up on Android Authority. The title of the article is Bug Breaking Texting Between iPhone and Android, like even more than usual. Which we all know the issue. Colors of the bubbles don't matter, but it's just the core functionality that Apple is refusing to play ball with the other operating system, and as a result, there are plenty of issues. Group chats, high-res images, encryption, read receipts, typing indicators, a bunch of other things I probably can't even think of right now, but those are the core things. Just the overall messaging experience is degraded because Apple is choosing to not open iMessage, nor are they willing to adopt RCS. Two things that they could do, refusing to do either. But this one doesn't really have anything to do with that right here. I'll just say, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, the TLDR is iPhone and Android texting is facing a severe bug right now. The problem appears to be related to the carrier the iPhone is attached to. In most cases, it happens to be AT&T. However, it could also be an iOS issue. Which one, we don't know. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit because I've already explained the whole not adopting RCS, iMessage, whatever. But it appears that what's happening is either the carrier network or iOS erroneously appends a plus symbol to the Android user's phone number. The plus symbol makes the first number seem like a country code rather than an area code. The iPhone thinks the number is an invalid number and either rejects it or creates a new chat. So, what's happening? That's kind of what's happening. Why is it doing that? We don't know. Is it Apple's fault? Is it AT&T's fault? Is there somebody in between that we're not really sure of? Is it potentially their fault? Don't know. But this is probably another example of if Apple adopted RCS or opened iMessage, it wouldn't be an issue because SMS, it's old. Clearly, there's more than one problem, and this happens to be today's problem. And yeah, it just sucks. So I'll say several people that I know that, I talk to or text on a regular basis have iPhones and are also on AT&T. Sometimes the messages seem to be a little slow to respond. Are they busy? Potentially. Do they just not feel like talking to me? Also, potentially. But now here's another wild card thrown into the mix that maybe they aren't busy and they are responding and it's not coming my way. Or maybe I'm trying to send it to them and it's not getting received. I don't know. But as I and plenty of people have said before, this is why Apple needs to get the message. RCS isn't perfect. iMessage isn't perfect. But as with everything that we as humans do, hopefully, as a company that has as much clout and power and wealth as they do, they would still be hoping to work towards a better outcome, a universal solution, things that just make the overall experience better, not only for Android customers, but I'll say especially for their own customers. For AT&T iPhone users right now, potentially they're having a texting issue. And even though this issue might not specifically be Apple's fault, again, the article says it might be, but even though it might not be, if RCS was part of or part of the Messages app on iPhone, I don't think this article would be a thing. Yes, there would be some people who would still rely on SMS, or maybe it would just drop back down to SMS occasionally. It's never going to be a foolproof perfect thing. In fact, sometimes when you're texting between iPhones, iMessage doesn't always work because maybe the person isn't in an area that allows for great cell reception, and you get downgraded back to one of the older technologies, or so things can happen. But all that to say, this article is just another example of why Apple needs to adopt RCS. Okay, I've given up on them opening iMessage. Yeah, don't even really want it that much. Just I want them to adopt RCS. Fun fact: the other day I got a message from my brother, and he was sending it to myself, my mother, and my father, and it was some pictures. And I jokingly, but also truthfully said, "Hey, John, my brother, you're messing up the group chat because all three of us have Android devices, so we are locked in there with RCS, but here you come with your iPhone trying to send multiple pictures at once, and it looked terrible. I mean, yeah, they were all grainy, and of course, like, I get when you have an iPhone, you're used to doing things a certain way, but yeah, if he had sent the pictures individually as three separate messages, they probably would have come through fine, but since he sent all three of them as one message, they got compressed completely, well, to oblivion, I'll say, and yeah, now it looks bad. But normally, it's the Android user that's talking to a bunch of iPhone users, and they're like, hey man, you should get yourself an iPhone because now we have green bubbles and the group chat's broken, blah, 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 blah. Flip the script on him this time. He's the iPhone user, and he's the outcast. Don't care about the message bubble colors, but just, yeah, overall functionality is worse now because he's a part of the group chat. Is he ever going to switch? No. Do I care? Enough to talk about him on this video and enough to occasionally point it out to him. But yeah, I'm not going to stop talking to my brother because he has an iPhone. But yeah, it affects people. Yeah, like his messaging experience was degraded because the company that he has a phone that's made by, through, whatever, is refusing to adopt something that would make his messaging experience better. Kind of sucks, doesn't it? Kind of sucks. And the second thing I wanted to mention, which also happens to be about the iPhone, in fact, the second thing, and then there will be a third thing. The NBC News posted something on YouTube about a week ago, so yeah, I meant to record this about a week ago. Apparently, lost hikers were rescued after using the iPhone's SOS feature. So when you are in the middle of nowhere, you don't have cell reception, at that point I think you're able to send kind of curated text messages using the phone's like GPS, using satellites essentially, and that information is relayed to emergency responders. And I think there is some connection. I mean, it's not blazing fast because it's not supposed to be, but in a pinch, it will do the job and it will get you rescued. And in this situation, it did. So I would definitely say kudos to Apple for making that, and I think other companies are in the process of doing something similar. So kudos to them. But I promise you, this now is somehow going to find a way into Apple's marketing material. At WWDC, probably not. That might be a little bit too soon. But in the fall, you might even have all of these hikers somehow, or, whether it's on a Zoom call or a FaceTime call, who knows? But yeah, Apple's definitely going to find a way to wrap this into some PR stuff. Like, hey, if they didn't have this feature, or if they didn't have our phone, they would have died, all right? That's how serious it is. And that's how serious Apple was making it about the Apple Watch, I think, last summer. Yeah, I want to say it was last summer during WWDC that if you don't have an Apple Watch, you're going to die, okay? So let's get that straight. If you don't have an Apple Watch, you're going to die. And we're going to make everybody fearful of not owning an Apple Watch. So please, go buy one. Obviously, plenty of people don't own Apple Watches, and plenty of people are not dying as a result of not having an Apple Watch. So we're good to go when it comes to that. But yeah, I'm just curious and anxious to see Apple talk about these hikers that got lost. I will say though, even though I'm happy that they're safe and okay, I think the article said that they all range from ages 16 to 18. So children out hiking somewhere by themselves, maybe they've done it before, I don't know, but if you're going to do something like that, yeah, thank you for taking your iPhone. But if this had happened last year before the feature was announced, or if they had older iPhone, I don't know if it works with all the iPhones, I don't know. But for some reason, if they didn't have this, what else would they have done? I don't know. But I think the first thing they could have done was travel with maybe a more experienced hiker, maybe. I don't know. Not pointing fingers, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, what could we have done to avoid this from even happening? As opposed to saying, well, thanks, Apple. Hey, thank you, Apple, yes, but what could we have done to avoid this from actually happening? And the last thing that I'll mention is I've been watching Front Page Tech now for 4, maybe 5 years. Yeah, I mean, I've been watching John Prosser for quite a while. And I think this was either his last video or second to last video as of me recording this video today. And the title of the video is "The iPhone is About to Get Bigger," and he has a real angry face. Watch the video. Maybe I'll include the link into the description. But according to the video, I mean, the thumbnail does exaggerate a bit. But according to the video, I believe from Roshan, or the other guy that he hates, what's his name? Yeah, what's his name? Hey, whatever. I forget his name. But somebody who knows about Apple products before they're released. I forget his name. Mark Gurman. Yeah, no, Mark Gurman is the guy he's cool with. The other guy, I can't remember his name. Yeah, anyway, I'll figure it out. No, yeah. What am I thinking? Yes, Ross Young is the screen guy. Mark Gurman, I don't think he really cares for. So yeah, Ross Young did release this information, I believe. Apparently, the iPhone Pro Max, I don't know if it's going to be the 15 or maybe 16. In fact, I think it might be talking about the 16, is going to get an even bigger screen. So again, according to reporting, I believe the screen is going to be around 6.8 inches. But however, it's getting measured. I think Ross Young was like, well, you might as well just round it up to 6.9. So we're talking almost a 7-inch screen. Like it's too much. It really is. A 7-inch screen is too much. I mean, yeah, I got a 5.9, 5.8, whatever it is right here. And even now, I mean, it's fine. It's perfect. It's cool. But the iPhone 13 and 12 mini, 5.4 inches. And I thought that was great. Absolutely completely satisfied with the form factor of that phone. But a phone that almost has a 7-inch screen, too much. And as I mentioned, the little emoji he has in the title is kind of frowned up, and I can tell he's annoyed. But what happened? Like, he's complaining now, which some people might start complaining as well. But what happened? People kept buying the bigger phone. People bought the big phone. Nobody bought the mini because they said, well, the mini's too small. You have, the 6.1 inch there, which is for the regular, and then for the regular Pro, but then the Pro Max gets to the 6.7 inches. So yeah, enough people bought that. I don't know how many people bought the iPhone 14 Plus, but I think that's also in that 6.7 inch range. But yeah, like, what do you expect from these companies? Like, that's how we got to where we are. People just kept buying the bigger phone. And yeah, it would not surprise me that if that iPhone 15, or well, I'll say iPhone 16 Pro Max is around the size of this iPad mini, at least diagonally. I mean, this is a little bit bigger. But if you shrink this to the size of a phone, yeah, you're going to lose some of that diagonal length if you're shrinking it. So yeah, holding an iPad mini like that would be a bit much. But what can you expect? Yeah, so all that to say, I will not be buying a phone that big. I think the largest phone I've ever owned was the Moto G Power. And I think that was either a 6.3 or a 6.5 inch screen. But everything else has been way smaller than that, and I'm satisfied with this. Even 6.1, I'm like, okay, because the Xperia 5 that I have is 6.1. The Pixel 7 is 6.3, I believe. And I'm just like, yeah, a little bit too much phone for me. But yeah, what do you expect? People keep buying the big phones until they're going to make the big phones. And then at some point, they're going to be like, let's add a tenth of an inch, maybe 2/10 of an inch. And in doing so, maybe we'll raise that price a little bit, maybe another $50, maybe another $100. You want the Pro Max? Give us a little bit more money. So if you don't like the big phones, stop buying them. I guess that's the moral of this story. Don't like the big phones, stop buying them. Smaller ones do exist.